And we are back, gang, to talk about in part two the wrestlers. What makes or what's going to make what I believe is going to be a really great year for District One, and as a whole, especially at Hershey. I think you know Glenn and Nate and Mike and I talked enough via text this week about returning wrestlers and the such, that this is a great group of returning wrestlers. We have 14 returning state medalists. You have two more guys that were medalists before that didn't make the podium last year. That's 16, and there's a handful of guys that we'll probably talk about that are ready to make that jump onto the podium this year. So it's really a year I'm excited about. And we have some weight classes where we're absolutely loaded with talent as well. Not just, locally, but, the guys at state level where, we're looking at several weight classes with multiple guys that'll make the podium. So it's, I know I'm excited about this aspect of our video, or our preview rather. So guys, anything you want to add?
Just a lot of kids back. They look at the rankings from last year. I think 53 of the 78 kids in the top six are back from last year. So obviously, a lot of those kids are the Faith Christian Academy kids in 2A, but there's just a lot of talent coming back in 3A even. You look at the new rankings that just came out on Rockfin, and a whole lot of District 1 up there in the top 8. Obviously, a ton changes in the next couple months, but it's just nice to see that there's a lot of potential and a lot of expectations, which I think is good for District 1.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned like this is pretty exciting year for us. I mean, obviously, we got some big guns out there. I mean, so when the graphic comes up, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But I mean, we have guys that not only can win state titles, but we have some weight classes that we might own. We might own 1, 2, 3 in a couple weight classes, which we haven't really had that type of power in a long time. So I'm pretty excited. Plus all the new names. I mean, there's some young guys coming in here that may actually make the podium as well. So it's good to see that the veterans and we're still young. I mean, we're still a young District 1 here with these guys medaling. These guys, a couple of them still have a third chance. So we can pull that list up, Mike, and we'll get right into it.
Okay, I guess we're starting Double A. That's fine. We look at the returning medalists in Double A, and you see a recurring theme. If you look in the right column of this graphic, all these guys coming back are from Faith Christian, and that is with one Lucas Sigalski transferring to Germantown Academy. They take one more out. Like it was an unreal banner year for Faith Christian, and they're just as good this year. They're starting their season off, making the trip up north, about 2 hours north. They're going to wrestle a little school named Wyoming Seminary, #1 team in the country right now, as ranked by, I believe, Matt Scouts and some other publications. So they've never shied away from competition, and they're going to go right at it right from the jump. And I mean, just look at the amount of talent they have coming back. I mean, it's insane. They have 2 underclassmen returning state champions. They got guys that are ranked, top 3, top 5 in the state already. It is just a team loaded with talent.
Yeah, and you're going to add Joey Bachman here, freshman, nationally ranked kid. They're going to add maybe 1 or 2, medals here as well. So this team is phenomenal. They're probably heading towards AAA very soon, if not next year. But this team is stacked. Like you said, Joe, they'll take on anybody, anywhere, and we're going to see it, right out of the gate here and all the way through to District 1, all the way to Hershey. So it's going to be a fun team to watch, and we'll see how the other guys can do against these kids too, right here in District 1.
So as we transition over to the AAA side and we look at, there's not as much consistency from one team in particular, but you look at, we have one returning champion, Colin Guy. He debuts as #1 in the state. We got 2 runner-ups in Dylan Bechtold and Mason Ziegler. They're both seniors this year. Bechtold debuting at #1 in the state at 215. Third placers, fourth placers. It goes on and on and on. that you see that we have talent returning. Tansini is going number one. Sorry, I turned my camera off. Tansini is ranked number one in the state at 107. You know, you look at at heavyweight, we're loaded at heavyweight as far as not just rankings, but you know what guys that are there. You have Dean Bechtold will be at heavyweight this year. John Pardo, Calvin Lockman, Joe Collins, Colin Getter. Like there's just a lot of talent. Like, you know, we could sit down and dissect where we're strong and where we're at. 172, we got Sam Gotro and Bekrus Sidradinov. They're the same weight class. They're going to be guys that are going to be near the top of the podium come March and Hershey. If you're not getting excited about this, you should be as the season goes on.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Nate.
the exciting part is that you see three number ones in the preseason rankings on Rockfin, and one of them's not even Colin Guy. He's number 2 at 145, or 152. But and Aaron Cement, the other number one ranked wrestler preseason. But it's just an exciting time. A lot of these kids coming back, and that return trip to Hershey is just a big deal. Some of these guys that came up short last year, making it back the second time, it's often a little easier to manage up there. There's a lot of guys that were right on the brink last year in the blood round, and I think it's definitely a year that District 1 can get into the low 20s, maybe mid 20s for the medal count and start to put up a respectable number.
If you go down the weights and the rankings, you got Max Tansini ranked number 1 at 107. You have Alex Diaz at 4, Braden Siegel, Dom Morrison from Hatboro. I know Glenn's excited about that. Right there, that's 4 in the top 9. If you go to 114, you got Colby Martinelli number 2, Connor Lenahan 6. So there's 2 guys in the top 10. And I'm just going on the list here for those that haven't seen the rankings yet. Go to 121. Mason Ziegler's returning state runner-up. He's ranked 2nd in the state. And, you got Cole McFarland ranked 7th. Curtis Nelson ranked 8th. So you got, and Luke Ryder ranked 9th. So you're there. And Andrid, Nate, help me out. How do you say his name from Coatesville?
Chesniak,
yes, I don't want to butcher it. He's at 10, so right there you got 5 guys in the top 10 at 121 pounds. And again, this is all subject to change. This is all preseason. Number 1 ranked guy in the state, 127, Aaron Cement. And going down, Quinn McBride's ranked in 6th. Zach Jaffe's at 8. Isaac Williams, 9. So, District 1 is right now in these preseason rankings. They got to be backed up, but we're looking at a lot of tough wrestlers. Chris Dennis is ranked 2nd in the state at 133. Mutarelli's 4th at 133. Mutarelli's guy we'll talk about transfer in from Malvern Prep back to his home district of Council Rock South. Cole Coffin in the top 10 at 133. And like I said, I'll just go through them pretty quick here as I have it up on the screen. 139, Gavin Sheridan, number 3 in the state. Jake Neal from CB South ranked 8th, and so I'll just go with the guys who got in the top 10. They said if we go 145, we got Gavin Carroll debuts at number 10 in the state. 152, Colin Guy number 2. It's crazy in a year where Colin Guy wins a state title and he comes back and he's ranked 2nd in the state to start the season. Also, that's it from District 1 there. Now, as we get these heavier weights, we got 160 and no one in the top 10. Gavin Cole, 13 at that weight class, 172. We got Sam Gautreau at number 4 in the state. Bekrus Sadradinov, number 5. Talon Hogan, number 7. Those guys are 3 returning state medalists at this weight class, state medalist from last year. Talon Hogan being a returning medalist at 172. He's there again. Then we go to 89. And we got nobody but 215 in heavyweight. We'll show some more. Dylan Bechtold debuts number 1 guy in the state at 215. And then heavyweight, like I said, we'll have some, John Pardo ranked 3rd, Lockman 4th, Bechtold 5th. Cole Euchre, 8th, coming back after injury last year. There was some speculation he wasn't going to wrestle. He's back. He was a state qualifier as a freshman. He's back as an 11th grader. Suffered an injury last year at Trojan Wars that led to him missing the rest of the season. Was trending to be a state qualifier again. Dylan Bledsoe from Garnet Valley, 9. Joe Collins from CB East, 10. You can go a little bit further. Colin Getter, you can go to 15. We got like 5 guys in the top 15 there, and in just heavyweight. So it's a time where we got depth like we haven't seen in quite a few years coming out of District 1, and that's just some of those guys are returning medalists, some of them aren't medalists, and then there's all these guys that kind of start to peak and come out of nowhere. Like you look at like a Curtis Nelson last year, had a great freshman year last year, found his way onto the podium. And how many guys were close last year and put that work in this offseason and are going to make that level change?
Yeah, it's an impressive list. I mean, just the medalists coming back alone, but like you just mentioned, all these other guys that are ranked, to start off the season. I mean, I'm not big on preseason rankings, and I actually talked to Don Morrison about it a little bit, but um, these kids all have great expectations, not only to get to Hershey but to medal, and that's what I like about this group. Every kid, certainly has the grit and the experience, as well as the accolades, coming into this season to get there and do it. So it's going to be an exciting season. I mean, we get out to see a lot of matches. I mean, obviously we go to those higher level duels, but those are the teams that have these teams that are stacked with talent. Quakertown, Council Rock South. I mean, Kennett over the last year. I mean, just teams that um, you know are traditionally good, as well as new coming teams like Hapro Horsham this year. You might see 3 guys maybe from that team go to states, and it's amazing. District 1. Again, we've had high expectations before, and I sat up there with Mike way high up in the Giant Center and seen our dreams crushed in that first round or second round. So I don't expect that this year. I really expect a lot of hardware coming home, and this is going to be a great year for District 1 and Southeastern Region. That's all I can say. And obviously with Double A, with Base Christian, I mean, we carry the banner there.
Yeah, I agree with the preseason rankings. They only mean so much, right? You still have to go out, put the singlet on, and wrestle the match. But that is the perception from others around the state as to where our guys are. Which again, we can go back and we can talk, and it's not always the case, right? Sometimes we come away with a great tournament at Hershey, but a lot of times the expectations going into it aren't there. I think the expectations are higher than they've been in quite a few years, based upon that. Like the word's out, we got some talent in District 1, and now the guys. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys go out and perform.
I think the best part of that, obviously some high expectations, but there are also some really talented wrestlers with a lot of motivation. I mean, look at a guy like Calvin Lockman, lost in the blood round last year. Heartbreaking loss in overtime. He was one of the best 215-pounders in the state last year, and just had a couple rough goes in Hershey. But I mean, he's got the potential to be up there, top 3, top 4 at heavyweight this year. And obviously, you mentioned Mutarelli. Whether or not he's eligible to compete in the postseason, I guess we'll find out. But if he is, I mean, he's a nationally ranked wrestler coming back from Malvern Prep. So obviously, just another stud for Council Rock South, and we all know how they typically perform up in Hershey. Obviously, McFarland coming back after not placing last year, but doing it as a freshman. And then we got 6 or 7 freshmen that made states last year. Obviously, Chris Dennis, Dean Bechtold, and Max Tansini all took 6 in the state as freshmen. Then you got Blake Boyer, Zach Jaffe, Quinn McBride, and Mason Richards all made it there as freshmen. So a lot of good wrestling ahead of those guys, and having been there as freshmen, it's just such a big deal to come back the second time with that experience for some pretty high level wrestlers.
If you were on the forum, and I know all the coaches got the email from Mike, whether you read it or not, but if you're on the forum, you saw we posted a fan poll rather, to get some input from people and see where they were at, see what they thought. It was anonymous, and so we got the data. We're gonna put some graphics up here as Mike prepares them, and we look at coaches and fans. So best pound for pound wrestlers in District 1. And, you look at how it goes. And so the coaches, pound for pound, Colin Guy was the unanimous choice on both sides. And then, they kind of mirror each other a little bit to a point. A lot of the same names you see as far as, Mason Ziegler is on both lists. Dylan Bechtel's on both lists. Gage Patero, a little bit of discrepancy between the two. Chris Dennis on both lists. John Pardo only appears on the coaches list. Chase Hans only appears on the fans list. Beckrus Sadradinov only appears on the fans list. But like I said, and Bachman, I guess is not a household name with the fans yet, but he will be. The dude is electric, and Faith Christian's going to set him loose on the PIAA this year. And again, right, wrong, and different. The Faith Christian, he's gonna give them some of the top of their lights out talent at the top of their lineup, match in and match out. But it was the people have spoken. Colin Guy, pound for pound, best wrestler in District 1. Nate, what do you think of the poll? Do you agree, Colin Guy?
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue against Colin Guy. Just such a smooth, slick wrestler, so smart. Obviously winning a title as a sophomore, taking out a former state champ, it's a big deal. I don't think I could dispute that, but I do think Adam Waters definitely has a case. I don't think anybody was more impressive than him last year as a freshman coming in there, throwing the headlock of his life in the state finals to knock off a returning state champ. Very impressive. I obviously heard a lot of good things about Joey Bachman, but hard to vote for him without seeing him in high school. Obviously, probably next year he'll be up there as well. But I mean, Colin Guy, Adam Waters. It's hard to. It's nice to have those two kind of leading the way for District 1.
Yeah, I always struggle with the best pound for pound wrestler when I do the rankings. It's really difficult because, obviously, Colin Guy's, returning state champ. I think he deserves this honor, preseason here. Obviously, everyone agrees. I mean, it's a small sample here, size. Obviously, coaches is good amount there, but for the fans, it's kind of a low, cohort here to look at. But you look at Beck, Sadradinov, just guys like that have been on this list, year in and year out. So it's interesting to see. If we did this all year long, pound for pound with the fans and then the rankings, I'd like to see, where that comes out. So maybe on the forum we can keep this thing going. Might be able to help me out a little bit.
So now we'll kind of circle back a little bit and we'll talk about some of these freshmen. I know Glenn's like itching to go a little more in on his guy, Dean Morrison. But you look at our list here, and these were provided to us by the top incoming freshman report on PAPowerWrestle.com. Joey Bachman, number one, and again, he is the hype is real about him. If you got to see him wrestle, if you haven't, you go on Flow and just search him and see him. There's been he's kind of this guy I've been hearing about for years, and then he's got his brother who's in 8th grade and another tremendous talent that'll be in the Faith Christian as well. It's finally time. It's like waiting for the debut. Like I liken it to waiting in the debut, waiting for to see Bo Bassett wrestle. You hear about all these kids and their accolades and what they've done, and now you're seeing it translate to the high school. As much of a can't miss type of kid as you got right there. So, Nick Singer from Faith Christian Academy, again, another tremendous talent. You don't just happen to fall onto these lists. If you have Rockfin, you're able to on Pay Power, you get to see some of their credentials and what they've accomplished at such a young age. It's pretty impressive. Oxford area is Blake Hostetter. That's a household name in the Oxford area. Last name that is. 18 is our top female or top girl wrestler, McKenna Atkinson. You might recognize that name of Chris Atkinson, former head coach at Satterton, now the girls coach at Satterton, and a huge advocate for girls wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania. Has done so much to get us to where we're at. And his daughter has a resume to boot. Dominic Morrison from Hatboro Horsham at 28. Andrew or AJ Corp at Westchester Ruston. Jameson Strickland from Sun Valley, another female wrestler that has had a great career up to this point and landed herself on this. And of the ranked wrestlers, then John Smith from Oxford area. Again, Oxford debuting 2 freshmen from a program that always seems to find tough wrestlers and put them out on the mat. Then you look at the honorable mentions. You got Bryce Boyer from Kennett, Connor Gillihan from Faith Christian, and Luke Knox from PV. So again, Kennett adding to that youth movement. They did lose Bailey Schindel to graduation, and they have Pardo as a senior, and they got. I'm sorry, to be fair, Nate, I know you'll can help me out here. Who were the other senior? Josh Barlow. And I'm missing one other right that
Tyler
was real tough
Myers.
last year. That's right, Tyler Myers from Kennett. So Kennett kind of reloading a little bit, bringing in Blake Boyer. Again, we got some good talent coming into District 1. That's just what is ranked in the top 80 or so. There's other great freshmen coming up, I think, that are going to make their mark. Maybe not at the state level right away, but they're going to make their mark this year.
Yeah, and just something about this list that PA Power does. Some of these guys like Martinelli, taking third last year. I mean, he was on that list, and I know we were all over some of these freshman lists over the last couple of years. It's kind of a new thing for us to really kind of focus on. But if you look at this list, you're going to see some state place winners not only this year, but next year and down the road. So it's kind of a precursor to what District 1 is going to have. And the list, I think we saw, obviously with Faith Christian over the last couple of years, where they each year had a real good group coming in this top freshman group. But now you're seeing it spread out a little bit, which is good to see. I will talk about Dominic Morrison a little bit. He's a real confident freshman. I really hope that he gets to see Bachman in the finals at the Cold Cracker. That would be amazing. But there's a lot of work to do for these freshmen. I know some of these kids come in at the light weights, and then some come in the middle weights, and then every now and then we have a kid in the upper weights. But I think this Bachman kid and Dominic Morrison are 2 kids we're going to see that medal this year. As incoming freshmen at 107. So I'm excited about this weight class. And then, you look at the just the rankings in the region, obviously based probably on some of your rankings, Joe. I mean, we have 4 guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all in the top 8 in the state ranking. So these kids are all going to be fun to watch. I mean, that's what's really exciting too. Joey Bachman and Don Morrison are fun to watch. So I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks at 107 this year.
Yeah, just from a Chesmont standpoint, obviously, getting some young guns in there. Right in the middle of the lineup, though, Blake Hostetter, 152, John Smith, right around 160, AJ Corp, right around 160. So obviously they're going to come in and go right into the fire. Obviously, really good track records for those kids. But, yeah, they're going to be wrestling some big boys, some vets with some man strength in the middle there. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of transition. Obviously, Bryce Boyer at Kennett, 107-pounder, just kind of adds to their lightweight. They have really strong lightweight group over there at Kennett. So it'll be interesting. Chesmont doesn't typically get this many freshmen to come in at the same time, and a Ricky Jewell, another one at Downingtown East, a guy to kind of watch out for in the middle of the lineups as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of transition against some of the bigger guys not being able to walk in at 107 like some of the lighter weight guys going against some veterans.
So now we'll transition to talking about our college commitments from the class of 24 and class of 25. And we'll flash up the graphic there, and we look at where we're sending guys. Dylan Bechtel going to Bucknell, Christian Ford going to Del Val, Sam Gautreau going to Maryland, Calvin Lockman going to Lehigh, Reagan McCullough from CB East going to Bellarmine, John Parter going to Penn, Victor Pershaha from William Tank going to Elizabethtown, Beckruz Sadardina from Council Rock South going to Lehigh, Gavin Sharon going to United States Naval Academy, and Mason Ziegler from Quakertown heading to Lehigh. So this is a great class of college commitments, and still early. Like there's still some that guys they're gonna find their way to different colleges. Gavin Sheridan. If you want to pick a guy that fits the mold of what a Navy wrestler looks like and how they wrestle, Gavin Sheridan fits that mold. I think he'll fit in nicely there under the tutelage of Kerry Colott at Annapolis. Dylan Bechtel going to Bucknell. Great choice by him. And the contingent we have going to Lehigh out of District 1, they've got some of our best and brightest.
Yeah, I mean, Lehigh obviously right now is in the lead here with the District 1 guys, but I noticed that, the Quakertown guys kind of staying close to home going to Lehigh. I think that's pretty interesting. And obviously Beck going up to Lehigh as well. That's a guy I could see wrestling at the Naval Academy as well. But Gavin and Sheridan, you're right, man. You put him, he's the poster child for the Naval Academy. He's probably going to do really well down there. Wrestling with Corey Cole. I'm sure he'll get to roll around with him a little bit. But, it's interesting when you start to see these guys sign. I mean, some of these guys signed pretty early, but that list will really grow, as the season goes along. And some guys will wait. You'll see some decisions later on as well. I always find that interesting too. Kids have narrowed down to a couple of schools. Takes them some time to figure that out. Based on their own success too, because sometimes coaches will hold out with some of those scholarship type offers, the full scholarships and so forth. So some of it's a waiting game for some, but others are easy to make a decision and commit early. But this is a good starting list that we see right here.
We look at Class 25, Gage Patero, recent commit to Michigan. These guys were somewhat recent commits. Patero took a tour this summer, going to different schools. I was hoping he ended up in a different gold and blue in Morgantown, West Virginia, but I think the lure of Michigan was just too much for him. Colin Guy going to Virginia Tech. Again, great pickup by Tony Roby and the Virginia Hokies. And then we got more guys going to Penn. And I think we see these guys going to Penn as a direct result of being able to go down and train at the PRTC. They get to go down there, these high-level guys, they train at the PRTC, and they work with these coaches, and they build relationships, and they make them want to go there. That PRTC is doing wonders for that Penn team. They're definitely a team that is, as far as an Ivy League goes, definitely performs at a high level. And, you look no further, and recently Doug Zaff, although he didn't ever All-American for the Quakers, he just made a world team. So, the proof is in what they're producing there. And District 1 is lucky to have a training center that close that is, geared towards helping high school wrestlers achieve that goal. And then, it's almost like a farm system for them.
Yeah, it really is cool. You see, guys like John Pardo and Kennett, take third in the state last year and get that opportunity to go to Ivy League school from a little school in Chester County. Obviously, just a great opportunity for some of these wrestlers to get great educations and kind of set up their lives. Really cool to see. And, obviously, like you said, the PRTC, just such a tool, not just for the guys that commit there, but, some of the teammates that get to go down and practice there as well. Obviously, some really big names that get you down there. So it's interesting to see all the talent staying home.
Yeah, I from a personal standpoint, I wish Drexel would benefit more from that PRTC as well. I'm not sure what the disconnect is there. Drexel, love to see them, get some more of that talent and keep pushing forward. They're not recruiting at the same rate at which Penn seems to be doing. And the education is every bit as good. And for those that don't know, that co-op program that Drexel offers is second to none. I had the opportunity to talk with Coach Acevedo a while back, and there's guys there that are making like big time money in their co-op. And the path to graduation sometimes is a little bit longer, but the hands-on job experience is you can't put a price on that.
That's for sure.
So now we will end part 2 of our preview, and we're going to get prepared to bring you part 3. So again, thanks for tuning in. As always, feedback welcomed, and on the forum. Thanks for tuning in again. Take care. Have a great one.
See you soon.